Welcome to yet another exciting episode of 60 Plus Uncensored, the show where we have real, unfiltered conversations with people over 60 who are still working, growing, living with purpose, and refusing to fade quietly into the background. I'm your host, Seb Fry, and I started this podcast because I wanted to shine a spotlight on the people who are still out there doing the damn thing, building businesses, chasing dreams, raising hell, or just living life on their own terms. And on this episode, I'm very excited to have Cathryn Baker with me. So Cathryn did an interesting thing. She spent 4 decades building and then successfully selling 2 staffing companies, but she gave it all up to buy a 1,136-acre ranch in Texas Hill Country, where she currently leads a very rural life, and I'm interested to hear about that. But she's a solopreneur and became a certified executive coach and consultant, all from her home in the Texas Hill Country. So very excited to have Cathryn here on the episode today and really want to find out what's going on. So Cathryn, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be on your show.
All right. So Cathryn, how old are you?
I'll be 69 on Thursday. So,
69 on Thursday. Happy
yeah,
birthday in advance. You
thank
look
you.
great.
Thank
So
you.
tell us a little bit about the Cathryn Baker story, if you will.
Well, oh gosh, well, we just certainly don't have time for that, but I will tell you from my big transformation. So, and you're right, I spent almost 40 years I formed 2 companies. The first one, I was 28 years old when I did it, and actually was newly widowed and had a infant and a 5-year-old. So that'll be a whole nother episode. But I did that with a business partner, and we had that for 15 years. And it was at staffing, both all my backgrounds in staffing, and it was a ride. We got that up to 15 million. So small potatoes in the staffing world, but not small potatoes for Cathryn Baker. And sold that to my partner, and then started another one immediately. And that was my second company. And I'll tell you what, that it was great. I ended up selling that to the group that I had joined with. We all owned our own, and it was an LLC. But I stayed too long afterwards. So I had to stay a couple of years contractually, and I did. And I opened another office for them, and we got those little offices up to 13 million. But then I stayed another 3 years, and I was so frickin' bored. I was really bored. And it's taken me like a year to even admit that. But it was, I didn't feel like I had a purpose. It was easy. Everything was easy. My husband and I had a paid for house. The job was not challenging. I was very much appreciated. It wasn't the company, it was me. And I mean, I got to the point where, I was watching the clock. I was a clock watcher. I've never been that in my life. I've always worked for myself. So in that time, and this is one of the things I was really excited to tell, your audience, because I bet a lot of people my age, you start to feel irrelevant. And I did. And I didn't even realize it. And with that feeling came loss of confidence. And so I was picturing myself at the time that I left, I was 67, and thinking, who'd hire me? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? I don't want to retire. I can't even think about that. But what if I'm just this person that doesn't matter in the workforce? And then my friend, she said, actually, we co-own this ranch. And she said, we bought this ranch. You want to come and see it? It was a 6.5 hour drive. Sure. So we come and see it. And I walked in to the house where I am now. I'm in my little office now. I walked into this house, and I don't know, Seb, if this has ever happened to you, where a place like speaks to you. I just walked in. I'm like, it was totally empty. Beautiful, gorgeous view of the Texas Hill Country. So quiet. I'm just like, oh my God, it was talking to me. And at that time, I was still working. And well, a little time went on, and she sent me a text that changed my life. And it was, your unlived life is waiting for you. What does that even mean? I have an unlived life. And guess what? We all do. Everybody does. Probably have 10 unlived lives.
Right.
But this was talking about here. That's how it doesn't matter how I interpret it. It was me, is my interpretation. I wrote it down. It's on a block of wood. It's sitting right in front of me. And I looked at that every day until I quit. And that was 5 months. Within a 5 month period, we had come back a couple times and we stayed here at the ranch on air mattresses and we all stayed together. And they said, "We hate this house. Do you like it?" And like, yes. And our last trip here, my husband and I were driving home. We just said, we don't want to leave. So let's figure out how we're going to stay. And we did. And that's the thing, is that I didn't think about, oh, I'm 67. How are we going to do that? I mean, of course, we thought about how we're going to do it. We had an opportunity. We figured out what's holding us back. What are the risks? And he's 9 years older than me. We are not kids. And he still works. He works for NASA. He's an engineer. And we both said, we're going to figure it out. And we did. And in 5 months, we had sold our house. I quit my job with a really good company. And we left everything that we knew and came to this ranch. The nearest town is this big. We don't even have a grocery store. And a complete 180. I've never worked from home before. I've never worked alone. I've certainly never worked in the same house with my husband. That's been interesting, but in a good way. And we made it work. And it took me at least a year to get my confidence back. And during that time, I went through a year course I'm a certified coach, and that really helped. But I think about that a lot, and to people listening, if you feel like you don't matter or you're irrelevant, because you're old, don't think that, don't wait as long as I did, because it did a number on my confidence. I didn't even want to like drive my car into a city I didn't know, where I'd been everywhere in it. Yeah. So, within a year, I got it back and then some. And now, I mean, I'm trying all sorts of new shit. I mean, we have a tractor. We have a couple tractors. And my friend asked me, "You want to drive it?" "Oh, no." I said, "I'm not going to drive it." Well, I did. And guess what? I dug a path and I did things you do on a tractor. I didn't know I could do that. Though they only asked me, "Can you drive a stick shift?" I said, "Well, yeah." So there I go. I drove a tractor a lot. So it's all this stuff. You think you can't do it. Now, I don't even overthink it anymore. If somebody says, "You want to learn," I'm learning so much technology because I'm on my own. Do you want to learn this? Do you want to try this? You want to go here? You want to go there? The answer is yes.
Right on. So before we talk about life on the ranch, which I definitely want to hear about the ins and outs of that, you mentioned that you felt like you were just punching the clock and waiting to check out of that job. And I imagine that a lot of people who maybe have spent 20, 30, 40 years at a job sometimes feel that way. And what can you tell people who feel that way? Like, is that a sign that you should just quit right now? Or like, I mean, did you have any insights around that whole like day-to-day feeling of I'm just punching a clock?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was terrible. Um, and I know a lot of people feel that way too. And it felt like I didn't have any options, but I really did. And then it did get, I was like living for the weekend, like a kid, like I couldn't wait to the weekend where I didn't have to show up to work, and that's horrible. And the people I worked for were so wonderful. So then I felt guilty, like am I giving it my all? Well, I was, but I could do so much more. So, yeah, what I would tell people is, if you feel that way, you do have options, and you have to take action. And that's the thing. I waited too long. It did a number on me. I got out of it. But and frankly, I'm going to pitch a little bit for coaching. I mean, this is what coaches do. Good coaches, and I'm a good coach. They help you figure out, why do you feel stuck? It's kind of a catch-all phrase, but it's an apt description. You feel stuck. Say, what can I do? And then you feel worthless. So I would really encourage people, talk to somebody. If you can't get a coach, you talk to somebody that you trust and that you feel safe and they're not going to judge you. That's what coaches do. And then you can figure out, okay, this is I can do it. There are options. I always say my litmus test is, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Is anybody going to die? I said, well, okay, if my husband and I move, nobody's going to die. So, all right. So then that's that. We're not going to starve. Even if we had to live on Social Security, and both of us are on Social Security, but of course we work too. Even if we had to do that, we're not going to die. So we figured, what's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that could happen if you're not going to die? Right?
You're not going to die.
Bankruptcy, I guess, maybe, or
Yeah, there's bad
ending up
things.
as a dole of the state, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't want that. And there's illness, and I do recognize that's so great. Great point. I do recognize that we're blessed with health. So
Right.
we are not, and I don't take that for granted, or I am really healthy. And so is my husband, and he's 78. So we're very, very lucky like that. But still, there are still things that you can do. And I didn't have a coach at the time, but when I entered that program, I got coached constantly, because that's part of the program, is you're coaching each other. I had never been coached. I wish I had. And so, like, wow, somebody sort of like you're doing right now is you're just listening to me. And that's really powerful. And so I had that. It's really powerful what you're doing. And when people listen to you, then all of a sudden you're thinking of, yeah, I can do this. What is holding me back? Oh, what the hell? I'm going to try that. And that's how it works. You need support. Everybody needs support and resources, and they're everywhere. You just have to open your eyes and look.
So if you're in that situation, get guidance and take action rather than just sitting around waiting for them to give you that golden watch, I guess. But you said something else, and that was is that you thought, well, I can't leave here because nobody else will hire me because I'm 67 years old. And I think that probably also goes through the minds of a lot of people who are maybe in that exact same situation, that no one will hire me, but yet you're a staffing expert. Now, ageism is illegal, is it not? Right? I mean, so
Yes.
how do you combat the actual day-to-day realities of getting hired, not working for yourself, but because some people, they don't want to be entrepreneurs, right? But they want to have,
Exactly.
meaningful work and like get paid adequately. Like, what advice can you give to people who maybe are 67 who want to quit that job but want to remain an employee? And how do you fight ageism in the workplace today? Is there any way to do it?
Oh, that's such a great point, and it is really rampant. So I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and I'm one of those that's talking always about that. In fact, I'm doing a series now on the different generations. I'm a boomer, and we still make up a pretty big piece of the workforce. But it is very real, Seb. And, I don't have a magic potion to recommend, except to say use resources. So there are plenty. I mean, you can just Google it and find plenty of resources to help you, for example, with your resume. So it's recommended that people with legacy knowledge like I have, that you concentrate on your resume, on your accomplishments and that knowledge, and what you can do for the company. It is illegal, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And if you're in tech, forget. I mean, you're old when you're 40 in tech, and that is just terrible. And then add being a woman, because there's that too, or people of color. There's all sorts of barriers. And you're right. Not everybody can go on their own. And I'm going to say that again. You can't. It's not for everybody. It's really scary and it's hard. So. So again, I don't have a magic potion for that, except resources. So there are a lot of career coaches. I am coaching pro bono now, through a collective. I signed up for it because it's people that were laid off in the government workers. And there's that whole big segment now where they have a skill set that maybe won't translate so well into private business. And they're not all, I'm not, the person I'm coaching is not old, but still same thing, feels irrelevant, feels like she lost her identity, not sure what she wants to do. So for people that really are struggling, older people like me, I call it, we're in our third act. This is my third act, is there's a lot of free coaching available. You can contact any international coaching federation. We all have chapters. I'm on the San Antonio chapter. I'm on the board, and we all give pro bono work. There's a lot of places to do that to get career coaching, and that will really help. It really will. And then people like me and many others are going to still keep, I guess, on that bandwagon about to let companies know. First of all, there's the boomers, and the other generations are smaller. And the new ones, the Gen Zers, my post on Friday is about that. They don't even want to be leaders. And can you blame them? It's so much work for they're like, oh, heck no, I'm gonna preserve my sanity and all that. So it's a shrinking population. And here's all us up in our 60s and even 70s. We have a lot of legacy knowledge, a lot of leadership skills. So it's not impossible, but it is hard.
I think the COBOL programmers, I think they are in hot demand still. If you're, even if you're a 70-year-old COBOL guy, I think there's work out there for you. And
I'm pretty sure
you
there is.
know,
I love that.
so you mentioned like having a guide and taking action, but you didn't have a guide. You didn't really have a guide. What precipitated your exit was the opportunity to buy this ranch. Is that correct? And you just went for it. You really hadn't thought the work part out at the time you decided to jump on the ranch. Is that right?
You're 100% right, and I don't recommend that. Yeah, I didn't know. It was my friend who told me your unlived life is waiting for you. And she's a brilliant businesswoman, and I've known her for many, many years. And you should be a coach and a consultant. I go, okay. And I did. I had no idea what that was like. I do now, but it took me, it took me way longer to start this company. I'm still not where I want to be than it did with my staffing companies. Those were more black and white. Get customers, you need employees. I was light industrial staffing. This is hard. So I didn't have it fleshed out, and I don't recommend that. That's a mistake that I made. However, I believe that it's corny. Everything happens for a reason. That was the way I had to do it. And don't forget, I was selling a house, moving a household. We lived in that house for 25 years. You can imagine what that was like. All this adjustment, and I did leave. One of my daughters lives there and grandkids. And so there was a lot of that. So I didn't have the guide, but I had the coaching right away. And
Right away.
that became my guide so I was, I could talk to somebody and say, am I crazy? Where did my confidence go? Help me get it back. Why am I comparing myself to everybody else? All that shit. The comparison was really bad. And then jumping on LinkedIn, I didn't know anything about LinkedIn. There's not that many old people on LinkedIn, but I'm one of them. And I've come a long ways on that. So
your friend suggested to you that you get into coaching, and so you became a certified coach. And I know there are a lot of different coaching certification programs out there. Was one recommended to you, or how did you decide which one to go through?
Yep, great question too. And again, this is where the resources come in. So my friend Sue, she early on was like, you should talk to this person. And everybody she said that, I did. And that's the thing. You take action. If somebody says, hey, you should talk to Seb about that, then you should talk to Seb, because, well, what do you got to lose? And you might find out something great. In this case, I did. And the woman said, IPEC is this fantastic program. It's 9 months, but then there's stuff at the beginning and the end. It's a year, and it was expensive. And she said, but life-changing experience, and do it live, go to the modules live. And I did. And so glad I did. Every person Sue told me to talk to, I did. Some I got stuff out of, and some I didn't. But I think that's I know I'm saying it a lot, but that's a really big difference in people that get out of their stuckness is they take action. And even though it doesn't sound fun or think, what am I going to learn from that person? I always do.
Well, I mean, not to quote Tony Robbins here, right? But I know I don't know much about Tony Robbins, but I do know that he says like, like once you've decided to do something, like I'm going to become a coach or whatever, like don't let your head hit the pillow without actually taking a concrete step, like down that path, because that's where a lot of people they get stuck. They don't even really start, right? They have an idea, oh, it's a great idea, I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and they got something else to do. So you mentioned IPEC, and I've heard about IPEC. And so does IPEC, what kind of coaching do they offer? I mean, like they said that tell you how to become a coach, but do they tell you how to become a life coach, an insurance salesperson's coach, a dental office coach? Does it matter what kind of coaching? Tell us about IPEC.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. And don't ask me what IPEC stands for because I knew it once, but they said it's sort of meaningless now. But it is approved by the International Coaching Federation, so it's got that accreditation. A coach is a coach. Now you can have specialties, and I do leadership and executive coaching because that's my background. But what you're learning is how to listen, how to ask good questions, and there's more to it. Yeah, you learn how to be quiet. I learned how to sit back and give the person space. There's so many things that you do learn. There's ethics and all that. But people had different niches. In my group, which was about 25 people, some were internal coaches for big companies. There were some life coaches in there. I mean, you could get really specific. Like, no joke, like you could be a dental office coach if you want. But the principle is the same. The client leads everything. I don't advise unless they ask me to because I have a lot of business background, and that does happen. But it really is about and trusting the process. They used to say, just trust the process. So at the end of it, there was a ton of coaching involved, and then we had peer coaching that we did. I had a mentor coach, all that. You have to take a test. You have to do a lot of writing, a lot of self-reflection. It's fantastic. It is worth every penny. And for anybody listening, if you do get a coach, I get a certified coach because it's not regulated. You can just say, I'm a coach. I'm a coach who, poof, I'm a coach. And we are not therapists or even mentors or those, like I said, sometimes I put on a mentor hat or a consulting hat, and I'll say that. Say, you want some advice? Are you asking me for that? Let me put that hat on. But we are not those things, and it's a fantastic profession, but it's confusing, I think, to people out there that don't know what's available. And so appreciate you bringing that up, and again, encourage people. There's free coaching everywhere. Coaches, we give it away. We shouldn't give it away so much, but we do because it helps people so much.
Yeah, and so like coaching is almost like a bad meme these days, really, because everyone's a coach, right? There's
Right.
your lifestyle coach, and your birthing coach, and like your death coach, your
Yeah.
divorce coach, right? I mean, like there's all kinds of coaches. It's almost like a bad meme these days. Actually, maybe it is a bad meme these days, but how do you like if you want to hire a coach to help you like start a business, like how do you pick a coach from all like how do you find it? Like, how do you find someone who actually knows what they're talking about? Is there a way, or just you need referrals, or
Yeah, well, referral is a way. You can go to ICF, International Coaching Federation. So you would find me on there. You can search because I belong and I'm certified. So if that matters to you, which I personally think it's important, of course, I think that. So you can do that. Go to ICF. They have a big, huge website. Referrals, LinkedIn. So I'm all over that. Anybody could do a search in LinkedIn and you're going to find, and then look at somebody, if anybody's interested in me, look at my posts, see what I talk about. Maybe you like me, maybe you don't, and then you can see it's got everything I've done. So if I'm looking for a business coach and somebody's telling me, and this happens, and I see it on LinkedIn, I can get your business up and running and, I'll get you you're going to grow 10 times in 6 months. You'll be amazed, la la la. And I look and you can tell they're probably like 25 years old and never started a business. And why would I want a business coach? Maybe that person would be a good life coach, I guess. But I mean,
Not that
I
there's
don't
anything
know.
wrong with being a life coach. That's a great gig, right? So, okay.
Nothing wrong with being a life coach. There's, like you said, there, and it is a bad meme. I love that. I think that's hilarious, actually. But that's what I would do. I would go to ICF or on LinkedIn or referrals. And because lots of people have had coaching experiences, you'd probably be surprised. Have you ever had a coach?
Yes, I have had a coach, and my first guest on this podcast was my coach. I had a coach for, I don't know, like 18 months, maybe something like that, and and I may have another coach again in the future. You never know. I'm certainly open to it because Lord knows I need coaching.
Yep. Yeah.
But so the ICF, the International Coaching Foundation, everyone on there is certified, or can anyone go and just get on there and say I'm a coach?
No, no, you have to be certified and you have to get the first certification. Like I joined ICF, it's Federation, International Coaching Federation. I joined it when I got my IPEC certification. But to get and it's called an Associate Coach certification, ACC, I have that. And that involves a test and all the stuff I did in IPEC counted towards that credit. Until you get that ACC, you're not listed. So yes, everyone has at least the lowest accreditation, and there are two more higher ones that are really based on how many hours you've coached.
So where are
And
you up to? Are you up to the top of the chain, or
oh no, I don't have enough. I got the ACC though, I did, and I took the test, and it was hard. And I paid I paid for a little course to study for it, and studied with another coach. I mean, it's stuff. It's hard, and but I'm really glad I did. So
well, it's good to do stuff that's hard, really, because I think if you're only doing stuff that's easy, you're not really having any growth, really. Growth
agree.
comes from adversity and difficulty and being
Yep.
uncomfortable, right? So that's terrific. So now you are a coach, and now you're living on a 1,136 acre ranch, and I promise I'm going to ask about that. But before I ask about that, I want to know, like, how does somebody who's now a solopreneur, you had that prior business and staffing, but now you're an executive coach. How do you find clients? How does one go about building a business like that from a middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's really hard. So LinkedIn is my marketing platform, and I decided to do that. And then I didn't know what I was doing. So I put super cringy posts. I didn't do any videos. I read everything I could on LinkedIn, and I got people to follow me. I mean, I started with like 40 connections, and now I have about 2,500, which is still low, but they're good connections. I'm not just saying yes, to everybody. And then I took a course on how to build my coaching business. So I'm using resources, and I'm glad I did. And there again, I keep telling myself I waited too long to do that, but no, it has to be a process. So slowly but surely, I'm building that clientele. And so I did like you do a free workshop and then hope you get clients out of that. I'm fixing to do another one. It's a slog. I did some cold outreach. I did a bunch of workshops for my old company, and so that really gave it a good yeah. And because I also did a speaking coach, so I could learn how to speak, and that really helped me a lot. I love doing the workshops, so I did one in Vegas and Houston, and went to Chicago, and really awesome. So
Oh,
and
wow,
then
that is awesome.
yeah, it was really great. And I super want to do, shameless plug for me, but I really want to do a keynote on third act, on what we're talking about. I just feel like it's so important, and there's so many people in my age group that need help. And I
Well,
feel, right?
you should sign up to be a presenter at next year's Society of Certified Senior Advisors conference, which is taking place in Denver next year. And they would love to have a speaker like you. I just came back from there and I saw some speakers, and they weren't like you exactly, but they were, talking about, building a career like later in life. That's certainly a track, and it'd be good for you.
I would love that. What's the name of it?
Society of Certified Senior Advisors. I'll send you a link and we'll put it in the show notes for everybody who's interested about that. But
That's great.
yeah, that'd be a great place. And I don't think it's that hard to become a speaker there. I mean, like you need qualifications and criteria. They don't just take anybody. But
Right.
I think that somebody like you would probably have a pretty good shot at doing that. So you hired a lot of coaches since you became a coach to help you on getting your business off the ground, like a speaking coach. And so I want a speaking coach because now I'm speaking more to you, right? So tell me about your speaking coach. What was that like?
Oh gosh, it was great. And now I'm fixing to do another one when I can afford it. The one I used was Julie Menden, and so she had a 6 month program, and really took us through. It was a small group, like four of us, from A to Z to how to craft your keynote, all sorts of things about speaking, about telling stories, about how to pitch for. So I pitched to get on this podcast. I that's how I learned about COVID.
Yep.
And I've been on a lot of podcasts, and these are great opportunities to, practice or just get used to telling your story. So the first podcast I did, I wasn't very good. But now I love talking about all of this, and it's fun. This is fun for me. So she did all of that, helped us put together speaker kits, so our collateral piece, and what our topics are. And you're with a little group, so everybody's given feedback. In fact, tomorrow we have what is she calling it? Like an alumni, just a 1 hour to see what everybody's doing and have ideas. She told me about Talkadot, which is how you get feedback, and I use those in my workshops. There's a QR code feedback, then you have testimonials, all the stuff that goes in. She brought one time in our weekly meeting, there was a voice coach, I guess, or she just talked about how to use your voice and how to sound better if you want to sound better. And I asked her, can you hear my Minnesota accent? She said, I can't hear it at all, but I sure can. But she said, that's okay. Who cares? And so it was wonderful. And then with that, and actually Julie is an IPEC coach. So with the fee for that 6 months, I think I got 4 or 5 one-on-ones with her. And she's really good. It's really great to talk to another IPEC coach. I also reciprocal coach. So there's an IPEC coach who's in business too, and we coach each other every other week, me and then her. And so I'll never be without a coach. There's always plenty of coaches who would say, yeah, I'll coach you if you coach me. And I wanted a business person, so this woman is great. Well, she's could be my child. She's in her late 20s. So I love that perspective too. But anyway, that was the speaker. Now I'm in another little cohort. I haven't joined her program yet, April Pertwese, but man, she's great. And she gets her whole group at the end of her, and I think hers is 6 months also. She rents out a space, and you're on a stage, and you learn how to use a microphone, and you give your keynote. You give it twice, and she records it, makes it look like you have an audience, and then there's your speaker reel. So if you're interested, of course, I'll send you that. She's really awesome, and she has a tight group.
I am interested in that, and please do send me that, and we will put it in the show notes. And also, you mentioned that you did these workshops, these live workshops. Was that with your prior company, or did you put a crowd together from scratch for that?
No, that was with my prior company, but with a bunch of other offices, so people that I didn't know. And I love doing that. They hired me I did a half a day, one for a sales group. I did their strategic planning with their executives. That was 2 half days, and I did 2 half days up in Chicago, mostly on coaching, on creating a coaching culture. And everything I do, everything I talk about, and certainly all my workshops include coaching methods. they're so practical to use in leadership. I mean, and so like I had the whole group, and there was like 25 of them. We practiced being silent, and I think it was only 40 seconds. Oh man, was that hard. I made them look at each other and just be quiet. And it was like, of course, it seems like it's an hour, and they're still talking about that. I still hear about it from some of the other executives. They say, oh, they said that being quiet, that was so hard. So, but it's powerful. So that's the kind of stuff I do, and I love that. And I like to travel and do that. I like all my coaching is virtual. I have never coached somebody, with the exception of when I was in the training, I have never coached somebody face to face.
Right. Well, virtual is certainly the mode these days. And if you like traveling and doing strat planning, all these little associations of realtors, which there's hundreds or thousands of them across the country, they do strat planning every 2 years. And I met some neat people who did the strat planning. That's a good little niche business for you.
That
I bet you
is.
could probably do a lot of strat planning. And a lot of these associations have money because there's oftentimes thousands of members in each little association, and they all are required to do a new strat plan every two
Yeah,
years. So that's a pretty good little gig, and maybe we can follow up. And I know some people who run associations, and if you're interested in doing strat planning for
I
realtor
am.
associations, we can talk about that offline.
That's awesome.
So, okay, well, this is really interesting because, like, I've had a coach and, like, I want to be a coach too. And that's why I'm asking all these questions, right? Like, I want to be a
Oh,
coach, right?
I
Well,
love
because
that.
I've been selling real estate for like a long time now and I've been, modestly successful and, like, I know a thing or two about it. And, it's, like paying it forward and like helping people out, like, there's a lot of fulfillment, I think, that really comes from that. So, have you had any like really big wins as a coach so far where like you really felt you made like a huge impact in someone's life or business?
Oh, yeah. Um, I'm going to use the example of the young woman I'm talking to now, who got laid off from a job she loved. She was helping like immigrants and, in the federal government. And she cried. Most of my clients do. And I'll confess here that sometimes I don't cry. I don't want to do that. I don't know why I don't want to, because
It's not
but
professional.
yeah, I guess, yeah, but I choke up because I mean and it took her. We weren't even 3 minutes into the session, and she was, not sobbing, but she says, "I'm so sorry." Is it, man? That is okay. Everybody, it's because I listen, and that's why you said you want to be a coach. I can tell you right now, you're going to be a great coach because
Oh,
you've
thank you.
got the listening part down, and you ask good questions, and that's the key to success in life, and anything, leadership, sales, certainly coaching. But I mean, you are listening, and that's what people want, and that is paying it forward. That,
Yeah,
because it's sad so many people don't have anybody to listen to them.
that is true, especially people who are older. Actually, we just from the conference that's a lot of people get depressed and they're lonely because they really have no one who will hear them. And a lot of times, these people who are older, they've had extraordinary lives, right? But then they
Yes.
retire and then they lose their identity, right? Because I used to be a vice president or whatever, and now I watch TV, right?
Yeah,
And that yet they have like a whole lot of experience that they're just sitting on, and they could pass it on, and a lot of them don't, and they end up getting depressed and shorten their lives and their quality of life considerably.
agree.
So yeah, talking and listening is really important. So now I really want to hear about this ranch thing. And so you also opened up by saying, like, we went into this house and it spoke to me. And, like, that's what I tell people who are selling their houses. Like, listen, your house is going to sell itself in the first 3 seconds, right? Like, they've decided it's an emotional decision that they use, like, they rationally try to back up an emotional decision. And that decision
Right.
is usually made right when you walk in the front door, right? And like it's rare if you have like a really great feeling like when the first 3, 4, 5, 10 seconds that you're not going to feel the same way like 2 minutes later, unless there's like some obviously horrible thing that is wrong about the house. But so tell me, like you went, you saw this ranch, you fell in love, but yet about the rational part. I mean, it's a 1,136 acre ranch. How big is the house? The house must be like 4, 5, 6,000 square feet, right? I mean,
No, no,
no?
it's
It's a
not. No,
tiny little
no.
house?
No, it's not tiny. It's about 3,000 square feet. And we moved from a house that was 3,600. And now you're in real estate. So yeah, I bet you have had that experience where, it's this place is speaking to you. So no, it's about 3,000 square feet. And there is upstairs, there's a little bit of upstairs, big verandas around it. Our friends didn't like it because it's traditional. It's not too ranchy, but it's pretty ranchy. And they like much more modern. So they were like, ugh, they didn't like anything about it except for the views. So anyway, but it's a very different house than we had. It's open concept. We have a huge fireplace, huge brick fireplace. We have enough wood that we have cut for probably 3 years. And I do some of my Sunday, I do Tales from the Ranch, a post on LinkedIn, and I interview anybody that I can up on the woodpile. Just will ask them a couple questions, make them climb up there, and so we do woodpile wisdom. And just like, well, what's your favorite thing about me or something? I ask. What's your favorite thing about the ranch? But so anyway, the house it's awesome and it's great for visitors. There's a little long hallway, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms there. I got another bedroom upstairs with another bathroom. There's a powder room, so we have 4 bathrooms. But it's like made for guests. And the inn has been full a lot. So many people. I have a pretty big family and friends. Our friends from Houston, they've been here 4 times already. 5, they just came. They just left last weekend. So I love that. It's like a house for that. And the verandas, one looks out over the hills, fantastic sunset views. We have a deer feeder right outside our fence. We do have a fenced-in yard because there's wild pigs here. There's a lot of animals here. We don't have any cattle now. We leased it out for cattle when we first moved, and we're going to do it again. But yeah, so the deer, there's like every morning and every evening, because the feeder goes off twice, 18 deer, 20 deer, 5 big bucks. We've watched them grow. All the fawns, man, they didn't come in the spring. They're still coming. I just saw a new one today. And all the drama that goes on with that. Porcupines, wild pigs, those are not so great. Let's see, the armadillos, raccoons, this little animal called a ringtail that's so beautiful, a million birds, turkeys. We have a lot of turkeys, so they come out too and they eat the deer corn. I know I'm missing some animals. There's skunks, of course, but they
Possum.
don't possum. Yeah, never see. Oh yeah, there is a possum, and I've seen that porcupine. I said raccoons. Yeah, and no end to no end to the bugs. Although they're
No
much
end to the
less.
bugs.
There are a few bugs. Yeah.
Right. Yes, I would expect so. But my question was, okay, the house must be really big. It's not that big. It's medium size, I guess you would
Medium.
say. But like, and so emotionally you fell in love with it. But then the rationally, okay, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's 1,136 acres. You've never been a rancher. How do you get from the emotional part to like rationally, like, am I crazy to be doing this? Like, what was like, how did you rationalize that?
Right.
Because that's not a normal thing, Catherine.
No, it's not. And it's a super good question. See, I'm telling you, you're a coach already. That's a great question. The truth is, I really didn't. If I overthought it, we probably wouldn't have done it. I had to I had to read My Unlived Life is Waiting for Me. Every day I had to read that and I believed it and I visualized. And then when I started to go down, yes, we have to think of risks, but we didn't overthink them and just pushed ahead. And that's why we did it. I mean, 5 months isn't very long. We just sell the house. Oh, and when we put the house on the market, like the next day, that's when the interest rates shot up. So
Of course they
we knew
did.
it was going to have to be a cash buyer, and it was. It was. It took us about 6 weeks, but then I was all that doubt. Oh shit! What if we don't sell it? Well, if we don't sell it, we won't move. until we do. I mean, I just, so I don't know if that's an answer. I don't think I was as rational as some people might be. And look, I'm pretty conservative and I'm a Virgo, I mean, I want things like nice and organized and all that. So this was a big leap, a
Yeah, so
huge,
it was a gut call,
it
basically.
was a
It
gut
was
call.
not a rational
Yes.
call at all. It was just a gut call, and you made it. And so now you're there at the ranch. You closed escrow. I guess they have escrow in Texas, right?
Yes,
So
I do.
they closed escrow, and you get the keys. Now what? Now what do you do? Like, where do you start? Like, okay, you move all your stuff in. Let's just say your stuff's moved in, your boxes get unloaded, the truck goes away. Now it's you and your husband and a bunch of boxes sitting in this 3,000 square foot house on 1,136 acres. What do you do? How do you begin to like wrap your head around like living there and
Oh my gosh, I do remember like that first night. Although we, of course, had spent the night there before, but this was like it. And actually, I came back, the truck, the final moving truck, we moved a poco, a couple of months. And then the moving truck came while I was at my first IPEC module in Austin. And so Ray was here by himself. And so I came home and it was a little freaky, and it's very different out here, so it's really quiet but not really because there's so many bugs and animals and stuff outside, but there's no traffic noise or anything like that. The house has a lot of interesting creaks, and it's a metal roof. So there, but how we did it is like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? That's how we did it. There were two times when, because everything was in the garage and I couldn't find anything and blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, and a couple times I'm like, I told my husband, I'm overwhelmed. And I never say that. And he said, come on, let's go out there and let's start here. And that's what we did. We like started in one little place and got so much done. And that happened twice where I really did feel like I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I do have to say too, back to your other point about gut level. My husband always, always, always wanted to have land and to live rurally. That was not my dream, but he, and I'm not saying I did it because he wanted it so bad, but that was a big part of my gut, was like, this opportunity, when is this going to come around, you know, again? And and I didn't want to be forever sitting in my paid for house feeling irrelevant. So
right? Yeah. So I bet you feel pretty relevant on your ranch, I would imagine, because I bet it would break down pretty quickly without constant like care and upkeep, I would imagine. So what's like the biggest surprise that you've had since moving to this ranch house?
the biggest surprise, huh? I think it's that the biggest surprise is that I like it. I like that it's not isolating. I thought it would be. And yes, in the beginning, it did feel a little bit like that. But then I know it's kind of like sticking your head in the sand, but there's words in IPEC for the energy level that I used when I would go there to think that would be a level 3 is like, no, um, feels really isolating. Oh my God, I can't just go, drive across town and see my daughter, or I can't, my friend's not right across the street. Don't go there. And pretty soon, this seemed so like where we're supposed to be. So that was the most surprising thing. It wasn't isolating. And, in 35 minutes, I'm in Fredericksburg, which is a charming town. I don't know if you know Texas. Where are you?
I'm in California in the Bay Area.
The Bay Area. Oh, I love that area too. So in 35 minutes, we can be in this charming little town, or Kerrville, where they had the terrible floods just
Oh,
a
wow.
couple months ago. Yeah. And so 35-minute drive is nothing. I mean, I did that all the time in El Paso. It's just that, and now here it's on a unbusy road. So when I got used to that, it just did not seem isolating at all.
So, so where do you go for community? Do you drive there every Sunday to go to church, or like, how do you find people to come sit on your woodpile?
Yeah, well, the church is an interesting thing, and I want to do that because I was a church goer, and so we haven't done that yet. People in my woodpile are visitors. Well, I have a lot of visitors, so it's been mostly family. But our friends who live here on the ranch too, they built a barn dominium, by the way, and so that's a 10,000 square foot barn dominium. Um, that's a mile away. I can get there in 17 minutes on the path. If I walk, I walk it a lot.
And it's on your
And
property.
it's on our property, yeah. Yeah, we co-own the property, and they're going to build their forever home on here too. But anyway, their daughter and son-in-law were here, and I brought him up on the woodpile, and he was a theater arts major, beautiful tenor. Actually, he's a baritone. And I asked him to sing a song, and he did. He sang something from Jesus Christ Superstar. And it just almost made me cry. And so, it's stuff like that. Anybody that visits, I'm like, you're coming up. And I'm trying to we have a housekeeper who helps us every other week. And I think I talked to her. I think she's going to do it next week. she's So I might have to hoist her up. She's a little bitty thing. But yeah, so.
Sure, why not, right? I mean, I think that your housekeeper probably has lots of things that she could, say. I mean, a lot of
Oh,
people do. I mean, even people who you might not think have very interesting lives, nevertheless have very interesting things to say because, they're right here with us, right? They have their own, perspective
absolutely.
and, stories to share. So, well, your ranch sounds really nice, and I don't. I mean, I've sold some ranches, but out here where I am, it's the ranches aren't very big. They're like little cocktail ranches, I guess you
Yeah,
would say, right?
ranchettes.
It's
Yeah.
your ranchettes, right? A few acres, and not nothing like what you have, right?
Yeah.
So, so that must be pretty fun. What do you guys do for fun out there on your ranch? I mean, do you guys like do skeet shooting, or like, is there a pond on your ranch, or
Yeah,
like?
we don't have a pond. We set up an archery range, and yes, we are talking about setting up skeet shooting. We do target practice. So I've learned to shoot a pistol. I do not carry it with me, although I've been encouraged to do so because of the pigs. And because I walk by myself, I walk 3 miles, and then I always go out for another mile and a half in the evening by myself almost always. So I encounter the most wildlife because I'm not driving. We have a ranch vehicle, a mule, we call it. It's very noisy. We do that for fun. We go out for cocktails to some beautiful place and have a happy hour out there. And gosh, we work a lot on, but we really enjoy, dragging the paths or we put up a metal building. He has this metal building finally. It's 1,200 square foot. That's his studio now, and he's in seventh heaven. I garden. We both do. Love that. And growing things that are different to grow here. And then we travel. We still travel and go to fun stuff in Fredericksburg. We're exploring all this area, Austin, San Antonio. There's so much to do around here. We have the river there, so yeah, and we're busy.
Yeah, you're busy. So, so what advice would you give to anybody who is, like let's just say they just turned 60 or something like that, and they're feeling burned out and they're feeling worried about, like, yeah, I mean, like making their retirement funds last, or making sure their health stays good, or just maintaining a happy and productive lifestyle. What tips can you give people about mindset? Like how, not like here's what you should do, but like how do you keep how do you keep your edge mentally to where you're still wanting to go out there and do crazy stuff like you did?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I feel like, is to keep physical, keep moving in whatever capacity you can. And that's why I walk. I do some we'll call bar three exercises too. I do if I got to do them online because I don't have a gym to go to anymore. Although we're putting one in the studio, a little one. But keep moving because as long as you can move and get up off of your chair, it doesn't have to be fast. But to me, that is the number one thing that I feel has kept me young. And the second thing is for the mind. Now, it's different for different people. I'm a voracious reader. I always have been. And I do puzzles. I do word puzzles. So for an hour in the morning, I get up extra early, 5 o'clock. And that's what I do. I want my mind to stay sharp. So those are the kind, but it could be different for everybody. I feel like moving needs to be some sort for everyone. And then just keep learning. Don't say no. When my first husband died when I was 28 years old, and I remember somebody gave me this advice. They said, "Yeah, you're not going to feel like doing anything. You get an invitation, say yes. Doesn't matter what it is." Excuse me, because you never know what will come, from that activity that you did, or what it's going to do for your psyche and for your mind. And excuse me, I've never really lost that feeling to say yes. A lot of times I don't want to go. I don't want to do things. I don't want to do business things. I hate networking. But I go, and I'm always glad I did.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Just
if
say
that,
yes.
yeah, just say yes.
Just say yes and show up. And that is like that last part, what you said, like really hits home for me, right? Because like I myself, I mean, am I an introvert? I'm an extrovert. Like I think I'm somewhere right in the middle, really, but like a lot of times I don't want to show up, right? Like I don't want to go
Yep.
out. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go meet these people. I don't want to go have dinner with a bunch of people I don't know, right?
Yep.
But the more that I do that, the better everything is, really. I mean, like
Right.
everything is better when you're doing that as opposed to, just, sitting and watching TV, which is what most people do.
100%. And I love that you say just say yes. Yeah. So move, keep your mind active, and just say yes. And then everything else, and you do it at the capacity. My parents are 90. Well, my mom turns 90 in September. My dad is 90. They still play. They're both musicians, and my dad is an excellent musician. They play every day together. She plays her clarinet that she didn't start playing again until she was in her 80s.
Wow.
She hadn't touched it since high school. My dad bought it. He bought me one, and I learned how to play it. That's another thing. Next is marimba, because my friend has marimbas, and I'm going to learn how to do that. I play piano too. But yeah, she's in her 80s, and she's playing that clarinet. You should hear her. And my dad is an excellent pianist, and they do that. They're so active. And yes, she's had health issues and all that. And my dad's, his mind isn't what it used to be, and there's some dementia, but they still go and they say yes all the time.
Right. That's very good. Okay. So now, how do people get hold of you? Like, you seem like a great coach, honestly, right? So, like, if
Thank
I
you.
wanted coaching from you, what's my next step? What do I do?
I would check me out on LinkedIn. I have a website, but it's not aligned with my coaching. I paid a lot of money for it in the beginning. So I'm directing everybody to LinkedIn. And there's a calendar link in there. And so if you just search for Cathryn Baker, you'll find me. And
I'm
then
looking
spell my
for you
name
right
right.
now. There's 30 plus Catherine Baker profiles, says Google.
Really do
Let's
you
see.
use,
Yeah. So, certified leadership and executive coach. Book an
that,
appointment. That must be you,
that's me.
right? Okay. So, it's Catherine-Baker-coach.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go. That's you. Okay. So that's the
That's me.
easiest way to get hold of you.
Yep, or an email, and I think I gave you that information if it's included. I of course will respond to emails too, but yeah, it's really great. And then they can see, they can get to know me. I have a lot of videos. I do videos twice a week at least.
Do you have a YouTube
So
channel also, or is it all
I
on
do.
LinkedIn?
I have a YouTube channel. It's just got a few things on it that I am putting more on, and I just started TikTok yesterday. I don't know. My daughter talked me into that, so we'll see how that goes.
I have had TikTok for a long time, but I haven't really started posting on it until like regularly until fairly recently, and it has by far the best engagement of any social platform that I use
Really?
where I don't actually know the people. Yeah,
Right.
that's a TikTok magic, right? Is that they somehow their algorithm somehow puts the video in front of people who really actually would engage with it more so than any other platform, and it's not even close. So yeah, and like You think there's just teenagers watching TikTok, but apparently everyone watches TikTok.
Apparently, you're right. And, and I mean, I'm putting on stuff. My daughter said, put your ranch, your Tales from the Ranch on. So I am. And she's, I did one and we'll see. So I do it every Sunday. I have something from the ranch or the woodpile, and I just talk about the deer or talk, I don't know, showed me with my new blower. I got a blower for my birthday last year. And, I mean, just riding the mule, all the stuff we do out here, you know?
Right. All right. Well, it sounds wonderful, and I'm gonna look for you on TikTok, and I'm gonna follow your YouTube channel. I'm curious to see what your ranch is like, and I'll be very fascinated to follow your career. And maybe I can put you in touch with some associations of realtors so you can help them with their strat planning, which does require, I think, in most cases, showing up in person. So if you like to travel,
I do.
it's probably like a good gig for that. All right, Catherine, we're just about out of time here. I want to wrap it up, but before I do you have any final parting words for our listeners?
Yeah, just don't don't feel irrelevant because you're not. We are not. We're in our third act, and this is the best act. Every act is great, and now it's the third act. It doesn't. I don't like to call it the final act, even though in reality it probably is. Of course, we all go sometimes, but you don't have to be irrelevant, and everybody has something to offer. We've got the legacy knowledge that the world needs, so let's give it to them.
All right, amen to that. All right, Catherine, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the flip side. All right, that's a wrap for this episode of 60 Plus Uncensored. Huge thanks to Cathryn Baker for setting the tone with such honesty and insight. Now, if you like this episode, do me a favor. Would you hit the subscribe button or leave a review and then share it with someone you know who needs to hear it? Oh, and hey, by the way, if you know someone over 60 who's still doing big things, like living boldly, working with purpose, or just aging on their own terms like Cathryn, I would love to hear from you. Reach out to me via my website, team60plus.com, or join the conversation on Reddit at 60 Plus Uncensored. I'm Seb Fry, and this is 60 Plus Uncensored, because as we're learning, life after 60 isn't the end, it's just getting good.
Subscribe now.